Solstice has arrived within Destiny 2 once again, but this time things are a bit different. Instead of participating in the Bonfire Bash activity, players are tasked with completing portal activities. Great. While the objective isn't particularly thrilling, the rewards are. Solstice loot drops at a tier higher than your normal rewards, which results in players finally being able to receive some worthwhile loot. On top of this, the actual items to gain within Solstice are very strong. There are 2 new weapons and 1 returning weapon within Solstice. The 2 new weapons are Festival Flight, a strand area denial grenade launcher, and Yeartide Apex, a solar SMG. The returning weapon is Fortunate Star, a void bow. Each of these weapons have a plethora of standout roles, from the classic heal clip incandescent on the SMG to demolitionist and attrition orbs on the grenade launcher. There's plenty of classic roles to chase. But right now, I want to focus on some new perks and see just how strong they can be. Let's start with our solar option, Yeartide Apex. As a longtime lightweight SMG fan, this solar SMG immediately stood out to me, and for good reason. This thing has it all: heal clip, attrition orbs, demolitionist, incandescent, and even chaos reshaped, a once raid exclusive perk. But what about Burning Ambition? Dealing sustained damage with this weapon will cause Scorch. Dealing sustained damage to a target which already has Scorch will apply more Scorch. A pretty straightforward description, but how does it actually work, and is it any good? Well, to start out simply, let's just shoot something and see what happens. Just the weapon perk, no bonus Scorch from the solar kit, and no additional sources of Scorch. The results are a bit underwhelming. To actually kickstart the scorching process, it takes nearly 3/4 of a magazine from our little SMG here. Compared to other weapons, however, that's actually on par. A precision bow takes 2 arrows to kickstart the Scorch, and a double shot hand cannon takes 8 total bullets or 4 trigger pulls to set Carl on fire. Not exactly riveting. To continue scorching and eventually ignite, it takes 2.5 magazines from the SMG, 11 arrows from the bow, and again, 2.5 magazines from the hand cannon. Magazines? Cylinders? I don't know. So we're not off to a great start with Burning Ambition. What sounded like the kinetic tremors of the solar world ended up being less of a solar tremor and more of a solar wobble. Okay, but maybe raw dogging it isn't the answer. Ember of Ashes improves Scorch applications, and with that on, it only takes 2 magazines of the SMG and hand cannon and only 8 arrows to ignite. Better, but still kinda sad. The best utilization I found was not to think of this as a weapon perk, but instead think of this as an ability perk. Trying to ignite an enemy with the weapon is somewhat of a lost cause. It can happen, yes, but after 2 magazines, I'd hope whatever you're shooting at is long gone, and if it isn't, maybe you should consider not using a primary weapon. However, if we think of this as an ability perk, we start to find some interesting things. Use a Scorch throwing knife, then follow up with a few shots. Ignition. Do it the other way around. Start with a few shots, follow with a throwing knife. Ignition. Trip mine, then a few shots equals an ignition. The Scorch wave from Consecration, after a few shots, is an ignition. A swarm grenade, which doesn't apply very much Scorch, ignites with just a few extra shots. It's not about the weapon, it's about pushing that Scorch over the edge for an ignition. Now that's all well and good, but you might still be unconvinced at the potency of Burning Ambition because ultimately you're sacrificing Incandescent for this. Yes, you are totally right. Incandescent and Burning Ambition serve completely different purposes though. Incandescent just works, whereas Burning Ambition takes more setup and effort. Most of the time. In walks the Warlocks. Warlocks have Hellion, an elemental turret which launches molten projectiles at enemies which scorch on impact. The base Hellion, with no Ember of Ashes, takes 4 shots to ignite. Not bad. With Ashes, it takes 3 shots. Even better. With Hellion, Ember of Ashes, and our fancy SMG with Burning Ambition, you can ignite with just 2 Hellion shots. That's around 2 seconds per ignition. That's free damage. You're using a primary weapon which has unlimited ammo, and a Scorching class ability which feeds into itself with Ember of Singeing for 100% uptime. That's before exotic armor, exotic weapons, or mods of any kind. That's 2 fragments, 1 aspect, and a legendary primary for unlimited ignitions. That's where Burning Ambition is best, a solar warlock with Hellion, but don't misunderstand, there's plenty of use cases here for Burning Ambition. You just need to remember that it's there to enhance your abilities, not your weapon. While it may seem like an underwhelming perk at first, this is seriously a powerful weapon perk in the right conditions. Those conditions are quite simple and worth building into with the ignition payoff, but it's not a weapon perk that will shine on its own. As far as which weapon to use it on, I'd definitely go for an automatic one. The Solstice SMG here is my first pick, since it has some solid pairings with it, like Attrition Orbs and Heal Clip. It also has the Tex Balance Stock Origin trait, which is easily my favorite Origin trait, since it's easy to proc and provides a huge reload speed benefit, which is generally where SMGs suffer the most. But there are alternatives, namely Ahab Kar, which is an auto rifle with similar performance. But it's getting a little warm in here, so let's move away from the solar talk and look at our other heavy hitter of the event, Festival Flight. The perk lineup is pretty good. You've got Ambitious Assassin, Hatchling, Attrition. Who am I kidding? There's only one perk here that needs introduction. Blast Distributor is a first column perk that improves your grenade stat when landing splash damage. It stacks up to 5 times, lasts about 5 seconds, and can be refreshed through additional splash damage from the weapon. Unlike its melee stat counterpart, Proximity Power, Blast Distributor does not require takedowns, only splash damage hits. Because of this, and it being an area denial frame launcher, one shot can take you up to 5 times, max stacks. At max stacks, it's going to provide you a whopping 65 grenade stat while enhanced. To put that into perspective, if you sit at exactly 100 grenade stat, the additional stat provided by this perk will result in your grenade receiving 42% extra damage. That's a lot of damage, but I didn't need to tell you that. The only unfortunate part of Festival Flight is that it doesn't possess an auto-loading perk to go along with Blast Distributor, at least a weapon perk. It's a strand weapon, so you may look to strand for synergies first. Threat of Ascent will automatically reload your weapon when using your grenade ability, so there's your auto reload. Grapple is a grenade ability, but you use a melee attack out of it. Grapple has always improved its attack damage through both grenade and melee damage bonuses. This is no different with Blast Distributor. This perk will improve your grapple damage so long as that 65 stat it gives actually pushes it over 100. This will stack with any melee damage increases as well. To showcase this, I took one of my favorite well-rounded Titan builds and started swinging, both in terms of punching and swinging around on the grapple. There's a joke there, I'm sure you can find it. So I've got 100 grenade, Heart of Inmost Light, along with our Blast Distributor grenade launcher and a 1-2 punch spread shot hand cannon. Baseline grapple with a little extra because of heart dealt thereabouts 1100 damage. Blast Distributor and 1-2 punch grapple dealt about 2500 damage. That's without Banner of War or Syntheseps or really any other source of melee or grenade damage outside of these 2 weapons. It could seriously get ridiculous. Damage is cool and all, and that's likely where the talk of this perk is going to be, but keep in mind that 65 free grenade stat goes a long way in improving your grenade cooldown as well if you're lacking in grenade stat. There's a ton of use cases for this perk: Starfire Warlock, Ashen Wake Titan, Ahamkara Spine Hunter, and plenty more. Even if you're not a fan of area denial frames, you gotta give this one a go. They're less grenade launchers and more flamethrowers, so keep an eye out for a good Festival Flight. Finally, let's talk about the bow, Fortunate Star. Unfortunately, this bow lacks the real power spike the other 2 weapons offer, but that doesn't mean that this isn't a good weapon. There's a lot of good perks here, but the one I've been eager to try is Impromptu Ammunition. I had a few folks mention this perk in my ammo generation video, and now that I finally have one, I can try it for myself. And boy, let me tell you, you guys were puffing some smoke. Look, I'm not saying this perk is worthless, but it's not nearly as impressive as you all led me to believe. Getting a takedown with an impromptu weapon will give you a few seconds of increased ammo generation. On the bright side, this does go beyond the limits of statistical ammo generation. So if you're at 100 ammo generation and have finders on, this perk will still improve your ammo gains. But by how much? Not a lot. Here's what I've got. Triple ammo gen on the chests with a single special finder. 2 bars with impromptu and 2 without. The top and bottom bars are the same since the first kill doesn't have impromptu active. The ones in the middle are where the difference is, and the image speaks for itself. It's clearly more, but only a few pixels, really. Sure, if you're trying to squeeze out more ammo, this might be the way to do it, but I'm not convinced getting this micron of special progress is better than Archer's Tempo or Successful Warm-Up. If you like this perk, great, but I don't see any real value here myself. And that about wraps up my findings. There are, of course, more perks to try, but these were the ones that I really wanted to test out, especially Burning Ambition. Hopefully you've picked up some useful information with this video. If you have a favorite newly added perk or interaction, let us know down in the comments. Until next time.